without any further comment, to Europe-wide matters, and we'll start with a good story because there's lots going on around the Saudi leagues. We have benefited with the sale of Darwin Nunez in recent days. There are other players, however, the PIF sponsored clubs in particular are looking at, including two at Real Madrid in Alaba and Ceballos. And I think Kingsley Coman is rumoured to be getting a move there as well. Talk to us around about what's going on with the Saudi money and where it's being spent, because it does seem to be a busy little spell after you and I commented in previous shows over the summer that it was oddly quiet and maybe disappointingly so.
Yeah, it is a weird one with the Saudis. They're spending money, but they're not the paradigm shifters like last summer, aren't they? Where they were bidding for the biggest players in the world and they had one stab at Victor Osimhen really, and after 6 rejected bids, just seemed to give up. And what did it lead to? Darwin Nunez is now an Al Hilal player, isn't he? With a deal with 46.3 million, which could rise, and apparently the add-ons are pretty achievable, to 56 million or so. So he goes with well wishes, good luck to Darwin. So they've got the striker in at Al Hilal. At Al Nassr, it looks like they're still trying to ship out Laporte. He wants to go and is trying to get a European club. They've already sorted his replacement, though. They've got Inigo Martinez, who cancelled his contract with Barcelona to do that deal. So he's gone for a payday to Europe. Like you said, speaking of paydays, Kingsley Coman looks like he's going to leave Bayern for a sort of 25 million a year deal is the suggestion. So he's got it. It was always a predictable one, wasn't it, Coman? If he wasn't going to get a European club like Arsenal somewhere, he was always going to end up at Saudi, wasn't he? He was never going to stay at Bayern. But as you mentioned there, PIF speaking to Real over Dani Ceballos, remember the guy who's been on loan at Arsenal a few times, David Alaba, who has had a few injuries. It'll be interesting to see if Real Madrid were interested in that one. I think they'd keep him because of their different players, and without wanting to be rude, Real Madrid could do with a fullback that can actually defend. That would be useful realistically, wouldn't it, at the same time? So, yeah, a lot going on with the Saudi clubs. It just isn't maybe the biggest names or paradigm shifter it was last summer.
No, but still, we are very, very... I see the narrative is being spun in the chats. I presume you saw this one about, listen, there's a validity to it when PIF are involved that, we get to get overpaid for Darwin so that we can theoretically underpay for Isak. Now, let's be realistic about this. It's a British record bid on the table already for Isak. That's not a small amount of money. So just because Newcastle have decided he's worth more does not mean that that's in any way, like I heard described as a derisory bid or something like that. That's joke shop talk. It's like, sorry, put that now back on the shelf. That's a silly thing to say. But, similarly, we could argue we value Darwin Nunez way too high and paid too much money for him. I didn't get your take on it really on a one-to-one basis. I know we were giddily hoping for more, but at the end of the day, I think that represents really good incoming money for us for that particular player at this stage of his development.
I do as well. I think the 70 million was obviously part of that craziness when the Saudis were still there trying to do crazy stuff, wasn't it? At the end of January and what looked like the move with Osimhen. I think that was there. It felt like a bit like the Gay analogy, isn't it? It was 70 million January. It was never going to be 70 million in the summer, really, was it, in all honesty? And the add-ons sound very achievable, expected to get hit. If you just look at the fee that it could be for Darwin, I think 56 million is very good business. I think you should put that in the pro column for Richard Hughes, Michael Edwards, however you want to do it. I really do. In terms of where he was, how many appearances, his importance or lack of importance to do us, 56 million, I think that's a good fee.
Yeah, agree entirely. 2 stories left. We'll go to PSG next. And we were just talking actually on Mulby on the Spot about how Bournemouth were getting a bit fleeced of their best players. And they have 2 in the door at PSG. And it looks like we've already mentioned that Donnarumma might be going the opposite direction. Is there anything else around there? And tell people who the two new arrivals at PSG are.
Yeah, they've got their keeper in, Chevalier, haven't they? So he's in as well. So if Donnarumma does depart, that is well covered now. Zabarnyi, I mean, it's a bit of a shame for Bournemouth, but it shows how good they are, wasn't it, last season that Kirkes, Liverpool, Zabarnyi, PSG, Huijsen, Real Madrid. But maybe in the best possible way from us, like you say, Jan talking about it. It's a great opener to have now, isn't it? Because Bournemouth have got a lot of players to integrate, and you fancy it's going to take Iraola a little bit of time to get that. But this was one of the first rumours at the start of the summer, wasn't it, that people were talking about. It's taken an age to get this done, but Zabarnyi is the first Ukrainian to play for PSG. He will not be facing us on Friday night. Yeah, they're starting to do business. There's still, the only thing to mention on PSG is a lot of sort of journalists around, cover Liga and DAZN and things like that. They still believe there's a big one to be done at PSG. That's not being rude to Zabarnyi, but they are big players. They're the European champions, aren't they? They're stacked with money, as we know. There is still a suspicion they could even make that move for Rodrigo or someone. I mean, their attacking riches are just insane to start with, but a lot of people are saying just keep an eye on them for a big one later on.
Yeah, you've made me nervous now because the first name that came into my head when you said that was Alexander Isak, but let's pretend that never happened. I didn't say it. Last story for today then brings us back full circle to Liverpool because Leipzig look like they are heading up the list of clubs, and there is a list of clubs like you and I have been saying on this show for months leading up to the end of the season, all the way through the summer. It was clear there was going to be big interest in Harvey Elliott. It looks like the Germans are ahead. I believe there was an Ornstein tweet in relation to this. And the lad I was trying to think of earlier on, Xavi Simons, is one of the ones who might be on his way out the door in the opposite direction to bring in some money that they could then spend on Harvey Elliott. How far down the road does this one seem to be to you?
This one does seem like a lot of people expect it to happen. And I think the key thing to say is Leipzig have, almost a bit like us, they've done the smart move of they've got the player on board, the player's family, the camp, the agent, all that type of stuff. So they've done a bit of a smart move here because we said Spurs were in the mix, but they sort of pivoted away. And part of that is because Elliott, and maybe it's right to say the Elliott family, seem very much sold on the Leipzig project, if you want to call it that, and where they say him coming in with naturally Sesko gone, the Simmons is set to depart. So there's a natural position there for him as well to be a real star at the same time as well. So they can't say they've not got the money. I know the amount, whether it's 40 million with a sell on, 50 million, they've just got a whack off for Sesko, haven't they? They're expected to do the deal for Xavi Simons. So it's just about that happening. But the suspicions are across Europe and the Liverpool side, Harvey Elliott ends up a Red Bull Leipzig. And as someone mentioned there, Jurgen Klopp, special boy, isn't he, who's in charge of football there at Red Bull? It would just be a nice story all round.
Yeah, I think so. And I'd love to see him get a good move because it does break my heart that a guy is not just considered to be of the level that Arne Slot wants because his heart is so much at the club and it's always in the right place. But he'd like to see him go on and have a successful career elsewhere if that is to be the case. And like we said in the last transfer show, it's not like he didn't achieve his dreams at Liverpool anyway, and he's still a very young man. I think that's about us, buddy. Unless there's any last breaking news or anything you want to fill us in on just before we go.
Just as we've been doing the show, I know Fabrizio Romano has done one of his videos to say that both Gay and Leone have agreed terms with Liverpool, so we're just almost waiting for that to happen and that sort of thing. And someone asking, why am I wearing one of the knockoff kits? Just to be clear, my young son ordered this for me and bought it, so I wear it with pride. How about that?
How's about that? Is there any better reason to be wearing a Liverpool kit? We should probably wrap it up then there. Thanks to Dave for a ridiculous amount of work that is gone into this show, as all of them are full of. It's not, you guys don't know this, but there's an awful lot of talking that goes on behind the scenes. I can only imagine what Dave's WhatsApp is like on a regular basis because our chat alone is kind of incessant. So hats off to him for that because we are always based only on the info that we get via Dave. So it makes the show possible. It's very, very interesting to walk through it. I enjoy it immensely. I know you guys do. You're watching in your thousands. We appreciate that very, very much. And you're listening in your thousands, and we appreciate that very, very much. If you like this show, go and spread the word. Word of mouth is really the best way to get it out there. I'm not a believer in social media plugs anymore. Just tell someone about it. That will help. That will help immensely. And we'd like to grow the show as big as we can. So from Dave, from me, until next time, good luck.